Last time on Dice Fall and Everyone Dies.
Set of jaws clamp down onto Stheno, and then this claw enter in through her armor into the side.
Can she spit on him?
You can spit into his fur, but right now y'all are kind of ear to ear in a gruesome lover's embrace.
She's gonna spit on him.
You're so good at foreplay.
Like, to be able to hit that, he went, like, Alec threw that the best you've ever seen him throw it. He rolled a 19 on that. He rolled 5 on his damage with his strength, and Alec is now sad inside.
Why?
Because he didn't even do an actual point of damage to it.
What?
What?
So Stheno's gonna lean over the hole and go, hello!
Oh no.
Oh, you fucking little frogs.
Welcome back to Dice Fall and Everyone Dies. I'm your GM Chris, and today let's talk about armor and AC. It gleams, it shines, it covers their behinds. Only a few characters don't need it, but almost everyone wants the full benefits. For you see, the armor class of a character is that value that has to be met when an attacker rolls and tries to cause damage or conditions to characters. So this value, it starts off numerically at 10, and then it adds in dexterity modifier, proficiency bonus, and then item bonus. You sum all of these up and you get AC, and it's short for armor class. Sometimes you can do things that will affect your armor class, like raising a shield or taking cover. Players ideally want their characters to have a high armor class because they will take fewer hits, be more difficult to critically hit, and thus have better chances at survival. The item bonus is where the armor class comes in. The core rulebook has this nifty chart detailing the different types of armor, of which there are 4: unarmored, light armor, medium armor, and heavy armor. And when you look at that table, you have to choose between the piece of armor that fits your budget, but doesn't hamper your mobility, and gives you the best protection from the types that your character is proficient in. Most times this proficiency is determined by your class, but players can often take armor training feats to make that proficiency more accessible. Now, the non-proficiency bonuses are very important for characters as they have a huge impact on the on-level encounters. Most baddies whose level matches the party will have a similar set of attack bonuses, maybe a little bit higher. This means that the dex bonus and item bonuses combined have a huge impact for fights on that level, and so, when we look at armor, we happen to see a really odd trend. Armor as a mechanic is built on this trade-off between protection versus mobility. The higher the item bonus is, the less the player's dexterity can apply to their AC. If a character with a high dexterity bonus puts on really bulky armor, they metaphorically waste their dexterity bonus because they're hampered in movement. And so, when you dig into the wording of the rules and you look at the data and the charts, we find something really interesting. You see, between the dex cap, or the amount of dexterity bonus any given armor will allow to your AC, and the item bonus, the sum of these values for light and medium armor is 5, and heavy armor allows for plus 6. This means that as far as a character cares about AC, they are really choosing armor based on things other than that net bonus. So what are these other factors that players have to consider when choosing their armor? You see, players also have to balance the check and speed penalties, the bulk weight, the armor group, armor traits, as well as pick armor their character's strength is high enough to mitigate some of those penalties. Picking the right armor for your character is no joke. Players must make choices based around the trade-offs of functionality and stat build, and it's really one of the most mathy parts of character creation. And we put up with it because a good AC that doesn't penalize your character means they're much more likely to survive and level up. Now you might be thinking, what about that proficiency bonus, and how does that relate to your armor and your AC? Well, increasing a character's level of proficiency in any type of armor is a great boon to their AC, as each tier of proficiency adds about a 10% better mitigation to being hit than they were before for on-level encounters. And that's because moving between the tiers from trained to expert, expert to master, etc. adds +2 to the total AC for each level of proficiency, and the impact of that character's level is going to be washed out when you're looking at on-par monsters. Now, the effect of those boosts is greater when you start looking at lower level monsters. We tend to not look too far beyond 5 levels lower than the party itself. And when you're fighting higher level encounters, players are generally going to need more than just their AC to go toe-to-toe against extremely deadly foes, and these would be monsters that are 5 levels greater than the party. Now, when we start looking at proficiency, we can actually see why armor and dexterity are so important, because combined, they form about 25 to 30% of the difference between being hit or not when we roll a d20. Proficiency itself ranges between a 10 to 40% difference. Shields can offer up to 5 to 20% with cover. Runes can do a 5 to 15% difference. And when we add all of these up, a well-armored character could have something like a +3 full plate, a tower shield that they're covered behind, with a legendary heavy armor proficiency. And so when we add all these up, you get 10 plus 9 plus 4 plus 8 plus 20, 51, if someone is going full turtle mode behind their tower shield. And it's 49 if they only have their shield raised. Now, we take this AC and we compare it to the attack modifier of a similar level creature, like a Pit Fiend. It's a level 20 devil, and it has a +40 to hit bite attack. Now, this means to hit our fully turtled champion, the Game Master only needs to roll an 11 or better, so that means you have a 45% chance to be hit. If the champion only raises their shield, then the Pit Fiend has a 55% chance to hit, as the GM only needs to roll a 9 or better. This is how we can look at the effects of player choices made on their survivability and look at the impact of armor. For instance, let's take away the magic full plate from our hypothetical champion, and we realize it's now much easier for the Pit Fiend to demolish them. Let's suppose they have a +1 dexterity modifier. So taking away that magic full plate, that max AC now drops down to 43. The Pit Fiend can hit our poor turtle champion who's lost that full plate with a 3, and so their chance to hit is now 90%. That difference between the probabilities is 45%. 15 of that came from the runes on the armor, 30% came from the armor itself. So let's do a similar experiment for Kazlin, assuming he makes it to level 20. His highest proficiency is from medium armor to the master rank, and when we factor in holding a tower shield and magical armor, his math works out to 10 plus 8 plus 4 plus 6 plus 20, so to 48 fully turtled and 46 with just a shield raised. That same Pit Fiend only needs to roll an 8 or has a 60% chance to chomp down on our ranger's highest AC. And then the Pit Fiend tries to chew on our ranger like bubblegum, they would hit on an 8, then they would hit on a 13, and then they would hit on an 18. So the difference between a champion and our ranger, in this case, is made up by those small differences in choices. The difference between medium armor, the difference between heavy armor. And a lot of the rest of it happens to mitigate out. So really important choices tend to be those types of armors as well as proficiencies gained while leveling up in one's class. Now, if you want to hit our AC, you only need to leave a rating and comment on your podcast app of choice. That helps the show immensely, and it makes our hearts go pitter-patter. But if you want to critically hit our emotions and pull that critical card, you need to join our OG patrons in supporting the show monthly, as well as gain access to our Patreon-only show, The Gang Goes to Galarion. This is a Party from Another World homebrew game that's run by Shay. I'm not gonna lie, it's a ton of fun. I'd like to share it with you, but only if you're an OG. Now, when we last left our party, Stheno was in the process of getting a demonic Hickey from an overly forward greater Bargeist. Let's see how that's going. Welcome back to Dicefall and Everyone Dies. We are here at the very beginning of summer in Texas, so if you hear a little bit of AC or wind, it is going to be because we're trying to not die sweltering in the area. I hope everyone is doing as well as possible at this point in time. Sid, how are you doing today?
They can't see me do a thumbs up. I'm doing well.
And how are we doing, Shay?
PaizoCon was fantastic, and I loved every minute of it.
I know, we're right at the back end of PaizoCon when we were recording this.
They dropped so many things.
Yes, I can't wait to get my grubby little hands on them personally. And how are we doing, Jules?
Heavily caffeinated. I'm good.
I'm going to have to make sure that I set aside a sequence of caffeine for every week that we record. And how are we doing, Zach?
Content.
Content?
Yeah, that's about it.
Oh,
Content.
man. I better do my best to put you into a state of disconnect so we can get the most bread out of you today.
Oh, well, I can be both.
Oh, good.
Yeah. I'm a world-class
Why not
actor.
both?
I'm a world-class actor. Apparently I have to be very close to this to pick me up.
But that's fine. That's little technicals that we're working towards whenever we can actually start properly getting electronics back from other parts of the world. So when we last left off, y'all had just finished slaying a demon, a greater Barghest, rummaging through his stored up hoard of crazy. And we have Shay over here shaking their head back and forth. Why are you shaking your head over there, Shay?
I'm shaming you.
Why are you shaming me for the greater Barghest?
Shaming you.
What?
Shame.
He just wanted to take a bite out of what he thought was a Diabolist. Someone who obviously was from Cheliax.
I mean, obviously, but she's not a Diabolist. Like, that's a specific career path. She doesn't
well,
have
he
that kind of focus.
He was a dumb demon. He was taunting you. It worked. It sticks with you.
It also died from her bleed.
It did die from her bleed. But it also...
Although, Taffy did get a few really good blows.
Taffy did an amazing job with that Barghest fight. In fact, Chris, you and I were talking about that afterwards last time.
Yes. In fact, if Taffy hadn't made their spell selections the way they did, the Barghest could have TPK'd the party.
And Stheno almost died.
Stheno did almost die.
She did.
Would you say that Taffy's ability in combat was heroic?
Heroic enough to maybe offset the whole, like, jumping into combat to begin with?
Heroic enough to maybe get a second chance at life later on?
That's why you're supposed to save your buttons. That's why everyone got a fresh
Yeah,
hero button.
Medvic, cough up.
I did give you your buttons, Stheno. Just remember that the next time Deimos is being stingy with theirs,
Excuse me, I went down over half buttons. That was a lot of buttons.
Yes.
That's because you had been hoarding them. That's alright. We're not saying that your challenges go up exponentially, just logarithmically. So when Taffy actually chose to do the magic missiles there, that was the exact correct spell to use at that point in time with the blink ability that the Barghest had used. Because the blink gives pretty much a blanket 5 resistance to everything except force damage. And when you combine the resistance and the ability to be able to move through all of that damage, at that point, the Barghest would have been resisting anywhere from 10 to 15 points from like every single source going on at that point. So it would have been like all of your melee would have been doing generally half damage to no damage. It was going to be a really rough setup until bleed and then spells and then bleh. So it was clutch.
So, let's fight some cultists.
Yes, so after y'all defeated the Greater Barghest, y'all made your way down the tunnel that had these descending terraces and came to an opening shaft that extended down about 30-40 feet. Y'all froze your way through the patches of mushroom stalks that you just basically saw Taffy gleefully ray of frosting everything out of the path for y'all.
Were they cute mushrooms at least?
So they look like the wavy stalks of grass.
Oh, right.
So
right,
like
right.
this, think of like tall grass plus a little bit of cat o' nine tails sort of feel to it.
But no, like bioluminescent or anything like that.
Mildly bioluminescent.
That would have been pretty.
So, and y'all got to the edge, and right where we last left off, y'all had called down, and then y'all heard, after a few moments, this when y'all were listening.
Fucking frogs.
So, the question comes now down for you. How do you want to descend through this hole?
Well, first I would like to take a long rest.
Yeah, where are we gonna do that?
Set up camp in the spot where we're at and keep watch. I need spells back real bad.
How many spell slots do you have?
Not very many. Like 2 of my big spells and like cantrips.
How many spell slots does Deimos have?
Let me find out. If I could do it like the
Because I used 1, 2, 3.
0.
Oh.
Oh, 0, number 2, and 3 level 1s. So technically 3.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
don't have my spell for heal because I used that already.
Yeah, my useful heal is
I used-
gone.
Yeah. Taffy's making it really good. Yeah, okay, yep. Taffy has an alarm spell, right?
Yes.
Renali told us that the boggards had not been able to get up the hole, right?
That's correct. they can't stick to the sides. You have to be properly endowed with an ability to stick to the walls to climb up. As you can see off the rim of the precipice here, it looks like it might have been either eroded or potentially even melted. It's very slick.
Ray of Frost doesn't actually.
So if we
leave
set up
base, though.
if we set up some camp, we've got all of our stuff, we've got our rations, so we can eat on that. Then we could just set alarm on the doodly bob.
Yep.
The hole.
We can still take watch because I think it's still a good idea.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, do y'all want to take your rest where the mushrooms are?
Oh no. Oh no.
Down in the by the hole, like outside of where the mushrooms are, like, or I can just freeze the whole area below the lip there.
So you want to kill all of the bioluminescent mushrooms in the area?
Well, not in the whole area, just the lower level that we're at, where D5 is.
So around the lip that exists is probably spaced about 2 to 3 feet on the lowest area of the lip.
I meant a step up.
And
So
the step up for that tier, though it does expand out, is a fairly large chunk of the mushroom. So you want to take and spend your time clearing those out
enough that we
area
can
by
camp.
area.
Yeah.
So to be able to camp in this next lowest tier, you will probably need to go ahead and spend a couple hours.
Can I roll a nature check to see if the bioluminescent fungi is useful for anything?
Sure, go ahead.
I'm not gonna grab it. I just wanna.
Well, it's going to be hard to study it unless you get into it. What you roll?
Medvik claims another button.
That is
Wait,
an
was that your
interesting
only
use for a button.
I just rolled an 18, so it doesn't matter. So 18 plus my nature, which is 7, so 25.
You are able to properly and almost expertly get down and really study the area and check these gloom glow mushrooms out. So again, they're very grass-like fungal filaments, and they softly glow as they move with the air currents that move throughout the cavern itself. You do know that these mushrooms have they're very brittle when exposed to cold. They can be very distracting when their spores touch the skin and become very itchy. You do also know that prolonged exposure can make one sick, cloud the mind, and make cognitive thinking exceedingly difficult.
Would I know if just camping in the area where they're at or near them can expose us?
Being too close to them for a prolonged period of time is likely not wise, because if you had large gusts and it brought those spores into your camp, there's a chance that everyone could wake up with the same kind of conditions if they were around them for too long. It would be very similar to if someone who maybe never been exposed to animals or horses got too close within a stable or breeding facility for the first time. Until they had acclimated, they would be very susceptible to the spores themselves.
Do I know if the gloom glow mushrooms would be useful as spell components for anybody, or potentially sellable?
You think you could probably harvest the spores for use in various types of potions and maybe even for some alchemical components.
Do I have to roll separately to do that, considering I'm already researching them?
Yes, because where before you're looking and trying to kind of observe and recall on your memory.
Would it still be in nature, or would it be survival?
Would that be crafting?
So crafting would be to make something with them, but I'll say for harvesting we'll go with the survival.
So 20.
How much are you wanting to gather? Are you wanting to gather like a single dose for study, or how are you wanting to go about it?
Like several doses, I guess?
Define several for me.
3.
3 doses?
There's a table for that. I am wearing gloves, if that helps.
So you're beginning to gather your doses when you made an error. Everyone go ahead and give me reflex saves.
18.
Is it reflex?
Reflex, yes. Stheno?
26.
17.
21.
Stheno is the only one who is able to get out of the way fast enough. But everyone else, as Taffy is collecting one of the doses, ends up hitting one in just the wrong space that ends up causing this rippling cascade across the mushrooms. And everyone who failed, which is everyone except for Stheno, is now sickened 1 and stupefied 1.
Damn.
The glowing spores have begun sticking to your skin as they ripple across, making it even more difficult to stealth around as you now have this glowing aura around you from the spores. But it does not prevent Taffy from being able to get any
I
of the
ran
doses.
across all of it. I'm stupefied, right?
Correct. So it will take a couple hours for that. One of the other things
Did I
that,
successfully get both or 2 other doses though?
well, you said you were going for 3 doses.
Yeah.
So you got your 3 doses, but in doing so, you triggered them.
Okay.
And after you've triggered them, you apparently got angry at them and then began ray of frosting the material. So while Taffy is doing all of that fun stuff, Zach, what does Caslin want to be up to?
He is going to spend a single action retching to attempt a fortitude save.
Also, I would like to do that.
So these are the reflex version, not the fortitude save version. You give me a survival check.
19.
So you're pretty sure that you will need to wash these off, not retch up the material.
Oh, I see.
Do you share that with the group?
Oh, yeah.
So you take a little bit, and you'll probably run through about half your personal water reserve, properly getting them off of you in a way that keeps them from continuing. Especially with Taffy blowing them up into the air with her rays of frost, just gleefully targeting everything that glows in her area. Demos,
Yes.
what would you like to do in the time before y'all bed down?
It's not really much he can do at the moment. It's not like he has anything to prep.
So is my condition removed now?
Yes.
Okay.
I'd also like to wash off.
Damos should probably wash off.
Well, yeah, I could wash off, but does anybody actually need healing after all of that?
I do.
So Alec is down HP. Demos, you're at 34 off of your max.
I am not for once.
Taffy and Caslin are full, and I think Stheno has a small bit of damage.
Probably do healing for me and Alec and just call it good.
You just want an excuse to touch his muscles.
Maybe.
Well,
But-
this lay on hands, he has to touch his butt. Just rub it in there.
Sleeping doesn't give us as much back as it did in previous iterations of.
All right, give
Pathfinder.
me your heal checks. Those medicines.
Just barely hit 15 for the first one. Probably make that first.
All right, so give me the 2d8 for Alec.
Oh, that finds some D8. Manual effects. 8 for him. And 19 plus 8. 27. I think that crits it for.
Yes, that will be crit, so that is 4d8.
Gee, does that happen often? Jesus Christ. 10. I'm full. I don't even know I'm counting.
All right, Stheno, what would you like to do during this time?
After watching all of them get sprayed with mushroom dust.
Yes. You
Um,
and Renali, poor Alec is caught in it.
Alec. Well, obviously she's going to be standing next to Renali watching them kind of act all stupefied for a moment, and then she's going to kind of wander over and check out the hole, and then probably get set up for camp. She's going to set up her little tent, her little bedroll.
As you are beginning to prepare that, Renali is able to show y'all where some of the water is accumulating in the area that is useful, especially for when it comes to washing up your friends. I didn't expect her to just start
I know.
icing them all.
I know. She's a little strange.
I can hear you.
I know. Would you like to counter it? Would you like to say you're not strange?
I don't lie.
Exactly. Also, yes, you do. You've lied to several creatures.
Okay, I don't lie to my friends.
Are we friends?
I told you you could call me Taffy, so yeah?
You also told Brett that he could call you Taffy immediately.
But that's because Bread is my friend.
He was immediately your friend?
Yes.
Okay.
He let me call him Bread.
Yeah, that's fair. I don't think that was his choice, though.
No. No, it was not.
It was my choice to get him mad about it, though, and I didn't. So I don't know.
See, you enjoy it. You like the nickname.
Don't tell me how I feel.
Aww.
And with Renali's assistance, y'all are able to get cleaned off with all of the spores. Taffy has all of her 3 doses that you'll want to make sure you add to your inventory.
I did.
And then, do y'all want to bed down? So y'all are bedding down in the area just a few feet away from that space.
How dangerous would it be to start a small fire?
In the section that you're at, give me a survival. So
Already
this is
holding the D20.
so this is going to be at the hard DC. You need to beat a 20.
Yeah, okay, that's a 23.
Because of the angle of the cavern from where it's going, it's unlikely that you will have too much smoke build up in this particular area, because you notice that the cave itself begins moving upward out and away from where you're at. You know that there are some various high spots that are there, so you figure as long as it is something that is relatively manageable, the smoke itself is unlikely to settle at y'all's specific tier when it begins cooling and dropping down.
Okay.
And plus, with the hole that's there, anything that would be gas buildup is likely, especially now that all of that little fungus is cleared away, would end up going down the hole. And so it would take something the size of probably a burning house to be majorly dramatic.
Okay, so then Stheno's gonna start prepping and see if Taffy would be willing to cast one of her little flame cantrips on it.
Easy peasy.
What wood are you going to use?
Oh shit, I didn't think about that.
Don't explorer packs come with firewood?
They come
Or
with
flint and
torches.
tinder?
They come with flint and tinder.
Yeah, flint and tinder. That gives you, you need something for it to burn.
Okay, so she'll sacrifice a torch.
Actually,
Someone's pushing up their glasses.
I can produce flame without having anything burn it.
Right.
But then you have to maintain that flame.
So you can produce the flame and you can keep the flame going.
It's just got to catch onto something so it maintains it, so you're not just sitting there casting produce flame the whole time.
And you can maintain it for a continuous action, right? And it's not that Taffy couldn't do that, is that that's something that Taffy would need to focus and sustain continuously.
Were Raldar's effigies, were they wooden?
No, they were bone. No, we're not burning bones, Taffy.
Well, why don't you just strip his corpse? It'll smell, but it'll burn.
No thanks.
Why don't I just put 2 torches down and feed it with some of the paper I have in my bag? What?
Paper's expensive.
I mean, it can be. I have a whole notebook. What?
You do you.
Actually, I have a few notebooks and a few letters in here that I could burn.
Taffy, are you remembering she's a rich girl?
How dare you? I am much more than that.
Well, yeah, but you're still rich.
And
Did anyone bring cookware?
I have cookware.
Oh, excellent. What are we going to eat?
I have dried ration
Yes.
What's an adventurer's pack? Is
And
there
water?
cookware in there?
and spices. We
And
could
dead
make, like-
spiders. Big ones.
That might be a good idea, Caslin.
What?
That's not a bad idea at all.
Can you eat spiders?
Well, yes,
Yes.
they're basically like above ground sea bugs.
They give me all this and some soap.
Renali, do you have an opinion on this?
Well, when in cave, take the bounty of the cave.
You weren't gonna say skill.
Well, I've only heard stories of places like Absalom and the grand cities of the Mwangi. Haven't had a chance to visit any of them recently.
Well, I'm gonna roam around and see if we can find any wood or anything to burn.
Those spider carcasses a couple
What
areas
about
up are not too bad.
Spider leg stuff can stack on a pile. It'd smell like what we're cooking anyway, so I mean.
But I don't think they'll produce much flame. I think they'll more of a
You mean
a
the
gentle
webbing?
burn.
Ooh, actually, that's not a bad idea. Essentially, if you took like the spider legs and wrapped it up in a whole shit ton of the like loose webbing, it would make like a really thick torch, wouldn't it?
I think so, yeah.
I mean, webbing burns.
Okay.
So together, kind of foraging around the cave, and especially with Renali's help, y'all are able to get together enough sustenance for an arachnoid-style barbecue down in the cave
Yeah.
itself.
Yeah, I guess it'd be too far to
Clam
just
bake.
go back out and get fucking some of Voz's stuff, wouldn't it?
Yeah. Well, wait.
It would be a bit of a hike, and you're not sure if that would be necessarily safe.
What about D4? Or I'm sorry. What about that cavern? That
Yeah, there was like a wood
antechamber? It
chest
seemed
or
like there
something
was
there,
some
right?
maybe like a table or something in there. I can't remember.
Taffy could easily crawl in there and like shove it out.
So, as you think about the storage area that Raldar was using for all of the bones, you do remember that there was a stool and table in there.
Okay. Good thinking. That's
And-
way better than spider webs and spider legs.
So the issue that Taffy runs into checking it out is that it's going to take some force to be able to pull it through, and you'll need at least one other person to assist you in that. Who would you like to assist you?
Well, will it though? How rickety is this table and chair or stool?
It does not appear to be on its last legs, but it does not appear to be new.
I will advise you that you cannot use Mage Hand to do an attack.
I know. I don't have a lot of spells left, but I have some. And I have kids.
Do not set them on fire in the room with you.
Good. I roll a Grim Tendrils attack on the table and have the table ripped apart by the tendrils?
So the tendrils themselves would be able to stick their thorns into it, but there's not a crushing set of damage into that. The damage that comes from Grim Tendrils is how it wraps and pierces.
You would need
Into the
something that
flesh.
does bludgeoning damage.
So, like magic missile or...
What kind of weapons does Stheno have?
Could Stheno squeeze in?
Is Stheno going to be able to fit in there?
Stheno could squeeze into there.
Is she going to be able to stand to use her weapons?
Poorly, but effectively.
She doesn't like bones, guys.
Well, it's not bones.
It is bones. It's
No,
the bone cave.
It's wooden tables.
So
Can Taffy cast prestidigitation on the bones so they don't look like bones?
that would be an illusion spell.
Hold on. Wait. Could they be neatly stacked in piles because of prestidigitation? Because it is a tidying spell.
So the issue that you would run into is that by the time you finish dealing with the glowing mushrooms and cleaning up, you have already run through a couple hours of time. For you to use your magic to help assist you to organize all of this material will probably take you 4 or 5 hours. There are that many bones there.
Stheno will go in there and use her war flail to beat the table into pieces.
So, Stheno, you have to like scooch and kind of squeeze in, and you're like having to duck crawl at a couple points throughout the passage to get there, and you're a little stooped over, and you see the table, and it's the size at which you would have for like a goblin, a small creature. So like perfectly size fitted for Taffy, but you can see how you can't really turn it up on it sideways and get it through the cavern because of the legs. But you take your war flail out and you just begin wailing on the table, and it cracks and the legs go, and you get it down into pieces and you can begin moving it.
Alright.
Taffy will carry the stool.
So Taffy's just carrying the stool out, just doop 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 doop.
Caslin
And
calls.
whatever wood she can tuck up under her arm.
Caslin calls down to the cavern. Is there like maybe a hay bed or a straw bed in there too? That would make sense.
So you
I have bed rolls.
Straw burns.
I have paper to feed the fire. Taffy, I can throw this whole notebook into there.
That's just
Now
killing her.
Stheno's just being mean.
We don't need tinder because I have produced flame.
Are you sure? I have an entire notebook. I have 2 notebooks in there.
Alec, make her stop.
Stheno, I believe you're causing Our Lady Gnome some severe distress for her love and enjoyment of things which she can write on.
I also have envelopes.
Envelopes are okay, I guess.
Stop, you're killing her.
And let's be honest, an envelope is just a very fancy bookmark that you can put other paper in.
What?
An
Just use a bookmark.
That's a great idea.
Just use a bookmark.
Multi-use.
Actually, IRL. That's not a bad idea.
You ever used an envelope as a bookmark before?
I have. I just never thought about putting more paper in it. Or like, stickers or something.
Mm-hmm.
So y'all are able to get everything set up and bed down for the night. As you've made the area fairly safe. Renali excuses herself for when everyone's beginning to bed down after y'all have kind of come together, had a meal of spider legs on a table bed or a table fired spider legs are basically what you're cooking up today. But together y'all are able to bring survival skills to bear to be able to make sure that everything's edible and satisfactory. Then Renali excuses herself after the dinner's done because she has a lovely abode set up for being able to sleep safely and comfortably in. And y'all have alarm on the hole itself. Are y'all going to set up a watch over the period of time?
Yeah, we can do a rotating watch.
I'll take first watch.
So y'all begin setting it up, and the biggest thing that you hear, aside from the kind of the movement of the air currents throughout the cave, kind of accentuated with the updraft coming from the fire, is you'll still hear a periodic.
Oh, shut up down there.
Don't get their attention. Then we can't sleep.
Is there a rock around?
Don't
There
throw
are
it.
rocks around.
Don't! We're trying to sleep. You don't need to antagonize them this early.
Need to kill them.
We're doing that afterwards.
Should look down the hole. Is there one of them standing down there?
No.
Oh.
Plus the other part that because you don't have dark vision, the light itself that you have, you can't actually see the bottom of it.
She's just gonna shake her fist at it and then go back to sleep in her tent.
So y'all are able to then get yourselves up and prepared the next morning. everyone has been able to gain their Constitution modifier plus their level in hit points. And I believe that should bring everyone up to full, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Spells are back. Hold on, I need to set up some spells actually.
Prep your spells, Tafaxi.
So while Taffy is prepping her spells, I'd like y'all to be able to get yourselves set up on our board here. So about an hour after everyone wakes up, Taffy's got her spells together for how she's being nice and prepared to head down. How would y'all like to descend the area?
Is there a spot where we could pound in one of the called pittons?
It does look like with the stalagmites and stalactites of the area, you can find one that is sturdy enough to use as an anchor.
I'll do that.
Especially if you already have ropes and the like. So who's going to be doing that?
I'll do it.
Give me a survival check.
22?
22? You think you've got it fair and secure. In fact, you think it's so secure that you could probably get Stheno and one other person not in major armor on that rope at the same time.
Nice.
So, and from looking down, the pit itself seems to descend about 20 feet. Y'all have had plenty of time to kind of observe it and see how the light plays on it.
I would like to put dancing nuts along the rope.
Okay. And so I'll need everyone to go ahead and give me a athletics check to get down the rope. Who's going first?
Stheno will. She got a 28.
So Stheno gets her arm and foot hooked around as soon as she is over the lip and slowly just begins letting herself down, just feeling the rope as it glides along her mail gloves and along the armored boot. Who's next?
Is this athletics or acrobatics?
Athletics.
Oh, I
I'll
have
go.
a -1.
Now you know my pain.
Caslin will go.
Caslin goes next.
Yeah.
What's Caslin got?
23.
23?
Can I go down with like one hand and it wrapped around my legs and have like my sword out on the other hand?
Yes.
Okay.
So Caslin has his blade drawn, grabs one hand, and as he begins lowering himself down, his feet firmly planted on the other side, he takes his one of his legs, wraps it around expertly, and then begins lowering himself down with his sword pointed, keeping an eye along the area. And you see Stheno has entered into a chamber that is about, at its widest point, 15 feet, at its longest point, about 20, that has a single opening that is about 5 feet wide, opens into another chamber, as from where you can see at the bottom light on the rope itself. Who's next down?
I'll go. I
So
got a 14.
So, nowhere near as expertly as either Stheno or Caslin, Deimos kind of gets himself over the edge, not as confident by any stretch. First he gets down on his knees, and then he begins slowly getting his legs over, and he is in an L shape, kind of gripped onto the rope, and slowly begins letting himself down, handhold by handhold. His legs are dangling down the rope, kicking back and forth, but then eventually he's able to get his feet around and properly begins lowering himself down.
Thank God.
Demos, where did you learn to climb?
Taffy also got a 14.
Taffy, seeing what Deimos attempted, seemed the safest way to be able to properly get down on the rope, and begins doing the same. A little bit less kicking, but still very unsure about going down that section.
I'm putting the two of you in climbing training.
Once I get slippers of spider climb, I won't need it.
And what will you do when you lose your slippers of spider climb?
I won't.
My
Then-
mother always said, a trinket not hard earned is a trinket soon lost.
Well, I'm obviously gonna earn it.
Hardly.
That's funny.
And then the last one down is Alec. You hear him have a short conversation with Renali to make sure that no one is going to disturb the rope itself. He seemed very, very concerned that something could come in and make the rope or pull the rope away from the stalactite binding that's there.
I'd like to cast Feather on it.
And,
Do you have Featherfall?
Pretty sure.
and so then Alec takes up the rope and he begins doing a walk, slowly letting himself down, hand over hand, and y'all just hear this clomp, 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 clomp as he goes down.
Yeah.
His shadow playing along.
I don't think you have to. I think he's fine.
Oh, okay.
And then from where Taffy's light is shining forward into the area beyond, you see that there is a chamber that appears to be about 15 foot by 15 foot and a pillar in front. The area itself seems to have been a small complex of rooms, but their original use is any guess at this point. For some ancient catastrophe seems to have melted the walls in places and has left behind half-demolished complex. In a few places you can see where the walls are still intact. However, the delicate carvings seem to indicate whoever once built these rooms were skilled artisans. And you can tell far to the southwest, the partially melted stone archway opens into a larger room.
They're called Illuvian? Or what are the elven portals called?
They're Illuvians in Dragon Age.
Yeah, I realized as I said it.
So y'all have heard it referred to as Alceta's Ring.
Elf Gates.
Give me a society check.
Iadara, that's what they're called.
Yes, Iadara.
19.
19. From what you can tell, it appears to be elven work of some kind.
So Stheno definitely has her sword out.
Okay. And Alec will go ahead and mirror you as well. Everyone go ahead and give me perception checks.
That was not good.
That was not good either.
That's 26.
26.
I got an 11.
Oh my.
17.
How are those dice treating you, dude?
Haven't killed me yet.
I almost called you Jack for reasons unknown. Don't know why.
That's not my name.
I know it's not your name. I've known you for how long now?
A while.
What you got, Taffy?
Long enough.
Too long.
Hold
Long enough that we're comfortable enough to make jokes at each other's expense.
Yeah, I think we were like that, like right at the beginning, though.
That's true.
Yeah.
on. 13.
So fuck you.
13. Okay. Y'all are beginning to kind of look at the architecture, the walls. Y'all realize that y'all have not heard any of that croaking sound since y'all have come down. And y'all begin bringing the light forward from where Taffy's at. And y'all see that there is a figure standing out against one of the sides of the wall. And then that's when y'all see this small, marble-sized red coal come barreling down at y'all, passing right by Stheno, landing right between Deimos and Taffy. Everyone give me a reflex save.
I'm turning in a button for this.
30.
Out of this bullcrap.
28.
Here,
14.
Sorry.
much better. 28.
Alright.
I think this.
This marble comes in, and then as it's right there between Taffy and Deimos, explodes in a fireball.
Fucking.
You see lit up on the opposite side what appear to be 5 figures as this concussive force and flame ripples out, catching y'all's entire group in the area. Everyone who got below a 23, which I believe is just Taffy, is going to take 20 points of damage.
Fucking
Holy
right.
shit.
Everyone who saved is going to take 10 points of damage.
Okay.
Well, I'm down to half.
Oh yeah, I hold on. It was 24 was the save, right?
23. So Deimos, you had a 22, right?
No, I rolled like a 19.
Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, that puts you at like 26.
Yeah, 28.
Alright, well, fuck this noise.
And then you see a spherical oblong disc kind of resonate in front of it and then somewhat tinge a bit out of sight. Stheno, it seems as though
How far away are they?
someone has cast a fireball at you. So the closest one to you, it looks like they're within 1 movement worth of action.
Which one looks like a caster?
The one that, well, you have to go ahead and give me an action to seek to be able to tell more than that. The one you did see do the spell is not readily accessible within 1 action.
Okay, fine. Then
For
I'm gonna
Stheno.
go up to that one person, the one that's closest, and she got a power attack. I've been jorgling this dice for a while.
Oh,
That is a 27 to hit.
27 hits.
No crit.
27 hits.
Where the hell did all my d12s go? There.
Nice.
18 damage.
18 points. So as you get up close to this one, you see that it looks like it is a similar type of frog person that you have seen before. You have brought it down to a bloodied state, but it appears to be more robust than the ones that you had fought prior as well. It does not look to be happy with the damage that you've caused into it, and you can see that there is a gash where your sword has slammed into it. And so now at this point, Alec is able to step up, trying to follow your lead, but can't get a direct line on that one boggard. But he sees that in the dim light that there is another way that he can try to move in. And as he begins proceeding down the hall, he has to squeeze through to try to plug in this open spot on the opposite side of the melted pillar in that room. And thus, between you and him, y'all are able to clog the access back to your casters from where you can see.
Is that going to impinge on the casters being able to cast?
So for the area that exists, Stheno is blocking part of the way towards the one who initially seems to have cast that explosive spell, but you can have line of sight through where Stheno's space is occupied. It is more difficult for where Alec's space is because there is not a ready source of light in that area. So the primary source of light now, it being Taffy's dancing lights, is back in y'all's original chamber. And so until an action is taken to move those forward, most of the enemies are in a darkened state.
But I can barely see the caster of the fireball.
Just at the very edge of your range, yes.
That's all I need. And it's my turn, you said?
It is Kazlin's turn.
Kazlin's.
Alright. He's going to move into the space behind Stheno right there. Well, which space gives me enough to be able to hit him with a halberd? I'm not sure. I can't really tell what's...
So you can move into a space behind Stheno, either to her right, her left, or just behind her, and you'll be able to hit it with the halberd. The clearest path is to her left, and that will give you a direct line to be able to hit one of them with the halberd.
Okay.
And so you'll be right up next to the melted pillar with your halberd there.
Okay.
And so, do you want to move and then quick draw out your halberd to get a strike off?
Yeah, but in order to do that, I've got to drop my sword.
So do you want to drop it or put it away?
Put it away.
All right, so one action to put away your sword. You then move, quick draw your halberd, and then that's going to give you a strike, and that'll be all three of your actions.
Yeah.
Let your strike roll.
Natural 20.
Nice!
Fuck yeah.
All right. And your halberd, what type of damage is it?
Piercing.
So your piercing damage, you will be doing triple damage with a critical
Nice.
effect that the target is dazzled until they are healed. Roll your damage.
D10?
Just 1d10.
Joel.
17. 33.
Damn.
So you take your halberd and just right as Stheno is pulling her sword away from the body of this amphibian, your halberd just streaks right by, and it's almost as though as Stheno is pulling her sword away, your halberd is coming in right there at almost like a timed strike, right down the center line of the creature's head, and you hear the skull crack, you hear the squish as your halberd pushes through, and then you lightly feel the backside tip of your halberd as it pierces through and reaches the softer backside of that head, and then as you turn and wrench it out,
All the
it just
brains.
comes forward, pulled itself off balance. Its tongue is now lolling out to its side, killed instantly from your blow.
Look, Caslin.
Can I
Frog's legs.
have a free action and say, looks like it's barbecue tonight, boys?
So the short answer to that is yes, that is well within Kazlin's ability
Looks like
to
meat's
say.
back on the menu.
I don't want to eat frog.
What?
You ate spiders.
It is now
Since when?
Taffy's action. Spiders were what's for dinner last night.
Oh, gross.
Okay, that wasn't the caster though. right?
Correct.
Spiders. It's the other white meat.
Can I see the caster better now?
The part that's blocking your access directly to the caster is Stheno and now Kazlin standing that way.
Sorry.
You can do line of sight type of attacks, but if you tried to do like a ray, you would end up having to worry about cover.
I just need to see him.
Are you going to cast something like Magic Missile?
I'm gonna cast heightened magic missile. And it hits.
Make us
Yes,
proud.
it automatically is.
Okay, so give me a sec.
Make us proud, Taffy.
You can do it.
Seeing as Damos hasn't done anything.
Damos hasn't had a chance to go yet.
That's not
He
my
rolled really bad.
That's not my fault. Like, Damos should have done something by now.
Someone doesn't want any defense buffs. What?
I'm calling your bluff.
5, 4, how is it that I queen the dice?
You need another D4? Here. Use my fancy metal one.
It got me a 4.
Nice.
4, 8,
See, that's the magic of sticking it all into a Ditto's butt.
13,
It rolls well.
15.
It's all the special goo.
18.
Wow.
No, it's a Snorlax kneading them from the inside.
18.
That's a fun form of internal massage right there.
24 force damage.
So you send.
Fucking Jesus.
So your level 2 missile, that means you're sending out 6 missiles of force, right?
It's fine how to use it.
So 6 missiles begin shooting out from Taffy's hand, and they swirl around Caslin, they swirl around Stheno, and y'all just see them beeline right towards the one who you think is the one who cast this combustive spell at y'all. And then that's when you notice the missiles themselves begin slamming into the circular shield and then cracks it. But it looks as though several of the missiles were fully absorbed by the shield.
I would like to rage.
You cannot rage.
I'm taking a level of barbarian.
And so what was Taffy's total damage?
24.
24? So several of your missiles, a couple of the stronger ones, look like they directly hit it in the shoulder and in the
aiming for the eyes.
center area. But it does appear that the creature's shield has absorbed a good chunk of that damage.
Yeah, well, now it can't cast shield for another hour.
Right?
Now it can never cast shield again.
Now,
But in this man's whole career.
so at this point, Alec is suddenly accosted with a giant tongue.
Oh.
What's wrong, Demos? Jealous.
Maybe a little, but also ew.
The first strike at it, Alec, having had the experience dealing with it and cutting one of y'all free, is able to block as the tongue slams against the wall that he's at, and preventing it from being able to wrap around him at that point.
Taffy would like to use a reaction cheer.
But what he can't stop is he can't stop the
Feeling.
creature from stepping to prevent Alec from having direct access to the caster whose shield was just broken. And it looks like it's going to attempt to whip a Morning Star out at Alec as well. But between Alec's armor and with his shield being drawn, is not able to get through Alec's defenses.
Wait. Did that boggard leave a square? Shift a square?
He did a 5-foot step.
It leaves a square during a move action it's using.
So the step action is not counted as a standard movement and specifically says it ignores reactions.
Yeah, okay.
Demos, it is now your action. You're seeing some readjustments occurring. It's a little hard from where you're at. You just saw brains blew out as Caslin just ripped something's head invertedly. And you saw the slamming of missiles against the shield, just like this boom, 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 boom. What you got?
I want to use one move to try to get a little closer to the situation, just for later.
Do you want to be behind
Uh,
Caslin or Stheno?
just kind of right behind that grouping of them there.
That puts you right in the middle of the opening.
So Taffy can't cast.
Scoot me over just a little. Is that within one move?
So you can get to right behind Caslin on the north side, or you can get right behind Caslin on the opposite side of the pillar.
That first spot.
So you move and you dart around the wall that's there. You've got your back up against the wall. What you got?
And then we're doing Inspire Courage and Inspire Defense. We'll start stabbing things later.
So everyone's defenses and AC have gone up by 1. Remember that you now have +1 to attack as well as damage. And then that's when you begin hearing something that is the screaming howl of 2 simians. They seem to have gone into a full frenzy. One begins moving and it is pouncing itself onto Stheno. The other is moving and beginning to pounce itself on to Alec. Stheno, what is your present AC?
23.
So the one on Stheno is going to be able to hit, but not crit. It has a very solid strike against you. The one that was attacking Alec critically failed.
Yay!
In his frenzy, he accidentally caught his own tail in his scythe,
Oh!
and he cut off his own tail
Oh.
and is now bleeding.
Is he also flat-footed since his balance is now thrown off?
Not quite yet. He nipped the edge side of it, and he has forced himself to bleed as he was bringing his scythe over to attack Alec, and it was not as successful as he would have liked it to have been. But the one that attacked Stheno is coming in with their sickle and is able to slam into her for 9 points of damage as the sickle gets in the chinks of the armor. And that one is going to attempt to trip Stheno. And naturally 20s against your reflex DC with their trip attack. So the natural 20 on the trip attack means that you'll take 1d6 in bludgeoning damage, which is only 1.
Okay.
So you are now on the ground.
Oh, she mad.
Understandable.
Oh, she's big mad.
Understandable.
She's got tripped by a fucking monkey.
Yeah. So it moved up, it slices into you, it then trips you, and in its frenzy, it gets one more action on you, and is going to bring the scythe down and misses, coming to the side. Its accuracy not quite what it'd like to be. The one on Alec continues to try so hard to hit Alec, and then critically fails on its third strike. This guy is up to some serious monkey business. And on its third strike, its scythe bangs off the chink, or bangs off of his armor. He was swinging it so hard, it throws it outside, or out of his hand, slamming back behind him, skittering out the passage that leads to the southwest. And so he is now absolutely scytheless, having done no damage to anything other than himself, having forced himself to have 1d8 bleed happening to him every turn. So he's already dealt to himself 4 points of damage. Oh, to think this guy was supposed to be an elite. Whoopsies! But they have begun this screeching that is very off-tuned from Demos's play. And as we enter into the start of the next round, that is when you have a screech emanate from the other simian creature. And when that is occurring, it appears as though a weapon, a giant hatchet, appears right next to Deimos.
Wow.
Deimos, what is your AC?
19.
With your Inspire Courage?
Oh, so 20.
What is his plus here?
I'm gonna start looking at that.
So a 33 is going to crit,
Oh my god.
because it would be the same that's there.
So this is a new monkey?
This appears to be the original spellcaster.
Okay, so the spellcaster was a monkey.
Yes.
And there's 2 other monkeys, and then there's a boggart, right?
Correct.
Cool.
You recognize, though you don't remember exactly their name, they appear
Oh,
to be very
the
similar.
Chataka.
Yeah, the Chatakas. So Deimos, you're going to take 9 points of damage as this hatchet slams into you from the side there.
That could have been a lot worse.
It ain't great.
And then he's going to take a rock, and he is going to try to beam Stheno off the top of her head.
She's on the
Telekinetic
ground.
projectile,
Oh,
or-
yeah, he's going to take a rock and he's going to throw it at Stheno's head.
Oh, jeez.
Is it an improvised weapon?
He has Thrown Weapon Master, so he can take any piece of debris and throw it.
What?
Yeah. Stheno, what is your flat-footed AC?
What's flat-footed?
Flat-footed's -2.
19. Nope. Hang on. 21.
I have to make sure I add these properly. So he is going to hit, and he does not crit. And so the piece of debris he throws at you is amazingly, stupidly accurate. And as it pings off your head, it is going to deal to you 16 points of damage as this rock slams right into the side of your face. Thrown Weapon Master is apparently really, really good.
So, she's not doing great. Any healing that anybody can do would be fantastic.
As soon as I can.
And so the halls themselves are echoing with the sounds of these simians back and forth, gone into this full frenzy. And that now is Stheno's turn. So Stheno, just this rock came right at your head.
By the flames. She is going to use an action to get up.
All right, you're able to stand. You have a simian in front of you, and he does not take an attack of opportunity.
She's going to power attack the simian.
Engage.
Come on, fucker. So that's a natural 20. So that is a 33.
So with your natural 20, and this is your slashing weapon, correct?
Yes.
You feel as though turnabout is fair play, and you have hamstrung this small simian as you stand up with your sword. Go ahead and give me your critical damage.
29 points of damage.
And so, coming up with your sword, you cut through its hamstrings, and you think you've hit something akin to an artery as your sword just continues to slide up the side of the body, and he is now bleeding out, having fallen unconscious in front of you.
Oh, is he dying?
He is now in dying 1.
Oh, good.
It is now Alec's turn, faced with a crazy toad, as well as a hyperactive simian. He is going to try to find a nice soft spot in that boggard's skull, unleashing his own brutal roar against the boggard. It is enough to just, with his power attack, he's able to catch him just right as the boggard is bringing up a morning star to deflect. It is just too much force coming down from Alec as he slams his empowered striking greatsword with his power attack down into him. And the Morningstar may be the only thing that kept the boggard itself from being slain instantly, as Alec is dealing 20 points of damage, actually 19 points of damage to the boggard, and it is just barely up still. He is then going to go ahead and perform one more strike to see if he can finish it off, but it is not high enough, and he's trying to get him to back away, but he's put a serious amount of damage on the boggard as there's now this deep cut into the top. You can see where there's blood beginning to well up in that section on the boggard. Kazalin. So, the simian that's right here, who I apparently presently can't grab, is unconscious.
Okay.
And so now y'all have movement that y'all can move through this area. We're going to keep him right there in case something happens to bring him back up. You now have your 3 actions and your halberd drawn. What would you like to do?
I'm gonna move up to that boggard right there.
So you're going to scooch by Stheno and move into intercept the boggard.
Right.
Now this puts you in melee with the other simian as well as the boggard.
Okay. Which one's the one that just got slammed?
The boggard is the one who just got slammed by Alec.
I want to attack the simian. My halberd.
Roll. Roll. Ah, Kazalin! How many buttons does this leave you with?
We're not gonna talk about that.
Oh, you better hope your strike is a good one then.
It's not.
What is it?
That is a 3. Wait, no. I mean, I rolled a 3, but that's not what I... that's gonna be a 12.
A 12 does not hit. You have 1 action remaining.
I'm gonna go again.
So your first strike, the...
Wait, I'm gonna... The dropping is a free action, right?
Correct.
Okay, I'm gonna drop it.
Drop and quick draw?
Yeah, quick draw the scimitar.
Excellent. So trying to get your halberd in and try to stick this simian, whose face is a bit different. The bluer on its face is a little bit more pronounced. It's still very dark here, but you can see that glint of the blue from its cheeks.
That's the caster.
You see that there is this faint glowing ember coming from its left hand, and it dodges out of the way of your halberd, but as you do so, you drop it quickly, you pull out your scimitar and roll a...
What was it? -4 or -5 on that?
Right.
A 7.
And it is able to use its hatchet to deflect your scimitar to the side fairly easily. Taffy. You see this exchange of blows. You just watched your ranger switch weapons. What are you going to do?
Right, 2.
So you're going to do another sequence of magic missiles at him?
25.
So you unleash another sequence of magic missiles, slamming directly into him in trademark Taffy style, trying to concentrate the blows all around the head and towards the eyes. But he's able to do some dodging back and forth and is able to take body blows when possible onto him. And he takes the full brunt of that damage. And you do appear to have bloodied him.
I would like to double rage.
So your spellcaster is going into extra double triple time rage at this
You're
point.
an ugly monkey monkey and I hate you. I'm gonna kill you.
The boggard is going to take a look at Kazlin now within his range and try his tongue slap against Kazlin. What is Kazlin's AC?
22.
So he's getting fresh with Castle. Is that with your plus Inspire Courage?
Yeah.
So again, you're able to dodge right out of the side, getting out of its way as it's trying to sling all of the tongue at you. It then is going to go ahead and swing its Morning Star at Alec, and Alec is able to just deflect it with his sword out of the way. These simple blows from a jungle-trained scout does not seem to be enough to get through his military training and experience that he's had working with y'all as a party at this point. And the boggart is going to be standing its ground. Demos.
Well, gotta get dabbing or something. Should probably use Soothe first, because it's Stheno that's not looking.
Yep.
Stheno is at 15 hit
16.
points? 16 hit points?
Yeah, let's do Soothe at level 2.
And so Soothe at level 2 is going to heal Stheno for how many?
Okay, it adds a 1d10 plus 4, so does that make it 2d10 plus 8?
Yes.
Oh, we can get to that 10.
So we're looking at anywhere from 28 to 6? No, from 28 to 10. Healing going on to Stheno.
Stop trying to hand me dice.
Sorry.
I got the dice. I just
Stheno
have to
just
find
very
them.
much wants to get that wonderful healing magic into her quickly.
Pocket calculators.
14.
Yeah, okay.
So that is going to bring Stheno up to 30 hit points.
Stop tracking my hit points, Chris. It's creepy.
I mean, isn't that his job?
You have one action remaining, Demos.
Let's do Inspire Defense because it's been the most useful.
So everyone's AC is still boosted by the 1 from Demos's change in song. While y'all don't feel quite as accurate, the healing power that entered into Stheno is bolstered her HP quite significantly. But it is now a screaming monkey's turn that is going to be unleashing, well, not a huge amount, considering he lost his scythe from where he's at. And so what this simian is going to attempt to do is adjust itself back by 5 feet to step away from Alec to create a little bit of space, and he's going to pick up a rock and try to beam it off Alec's head.
There's no two monkeys and a boggart?
Correct, there are 2 active simians and a boggart.
Okay.
Alec, what is your AC? Your AC is about like Stheno's, and he's able to just bring his shoulder up just enough to deflect the rock before it slams into the side of his handsome face, but it nearly is able to put a scar on him. And then the monkey rolls his 3rd natural 1 this combat.
Jesus Christ.
What a great monkey.
And in the process of him trying to grab another rock to throw at Alec, he ends up rearing his head back all the way, and he's about to throw it, and he slams himself in the back of the head with his own rock, dealing himself now another persistent amount of bleed. So from his tail wound and his new head wound in the back, he takes 6 more points of damage.
Is this the caster monkey? Or
No.
The other monkey?
This is the other monkey.
The other monkey.
And there's basically this whole space is now a bleeding mess as the tail is slinging blood around everywhere. It's very terrible for this monkey.
Good.
Now, Demos, you have not moved from your space.
No, I have not.
And
that
so
means that hatchet can hit you again.
This hatchet is going to bear down on you.